All right, so today's topic is fixing. Fixing. And what I mean by this is when we attempt to fix other people's emotional states. And this comes up a lot in sessions for me. This is one of the most sort of common pitfalls that both personally I fall into and my clients seem to fall into when it comes to being with the people we love, or even just the people we need to interact with, like colleagues, through emotional intensity. And at the very core of fixing is a belief system that most of us seem to be indoctrinated with early in our lives, that emotions are problems that need to be fixed, especially difficult emotions. So I'm really talking about intense emotions, anything that goes from, extreme sorrow and grief to anger to discomfort, annoyance, irritation, boredom, anything on that side of the spectrum of feelings. There is this notion that we seem to have kind of unconsciously installed in us that these feelings are not supposed to be here. They're not supposed to be here. And it's a really unfortunate belief system, this one that says that, because while those feelings tend to be very uncomfortable, and I would never wish for any of us to dwell in them, they're part of the human existence. They're universal to all humans. So they're actually unavoidable. And when we operate from this subconscious belief system that they're there to be fixed, we do an incredible disservice to the possibility for connection, growth, healing, and really just a sense of peace in ourselves. So I want to talk a little bit about the behavior of fixing. I've mentioned where it comes from, but I want to talk about like kind of how it shows up and also its relationship to codependency. So when we engage in fixing, you can probably recognize this behavior in yourself. Like you can imagine someone you care about is going through something intense, or they have, a frustration that they're bringing to you. And you can probably imagine in yourself that impulse that says, I want to solve this for them. I want to problem solve this. I want to get the solution to this. I want them to not be in pain anymore. And now I never want us to make wrong the impulse to alleviate somebody else's pain or suffering, because that is actually at the heart of compassion. Compassion is that impulse that says, I want for us not to be in pain. I want for you to be well. I want you to have a restored sense of balance and peace. Where most of us tend to go is we not only get to that place of compassion, but we go into our fixing behavior, which is, it is not okay for you to feel the way you're feeling. And this is an energetic shift. It doesn't happen in the words we use or the strategies we propose. I can be coming from a place of really being okay with you being in this pain. And I can be incredibly resourceful and helpful by suggesting things, but I'm not coming from the energy of fixing. And most of us can sense when the person that we're dealing with is trying to fix us. Like you can think of being on the receiving end of that when you're going through a tough time and you're just needing to feel some feelings, or you're just needing to talk about it out loud or process it. And you can feel in someone else's energy, there's this kind of urgency and a kind of an unconscious demand energy. And so when we think of that on the receiving end, it's a lot of pressure, right? And it kind of reinforces our own very natural impulse to try to leave our discomfort and get rid of it. When what most of us need is actually a supportive place to navigate through the discomfort, to metabolize it, to let it have its beginning, middle, and end so that we can actually move through whatever feelings we're having. So, what this usually requires is the ability in the listener to actually just hold space. And this is a term that has been kind of made a little bit woo or kind of cliche, or, some of us are really playful with it, like, oh, hold space. What does that even mean? And it's not necessarily a very explicit thing. It's a very subtle behavior to hold space for somebody. And for me, it lies somewhere between witnessing and accompanying. So witnessing is on the more passive side, right? You can witness something without being emotionally involved in it. But accompanying is kind of like the metaphor of walking alongside somebody as they're going through something. And rather than put your foot there and climb up that rock and do this, and oh, don't go there, it's just, oh, what do you see there? What's it like to stand there? How does that feel? Yeah, I can see why that would be scary right there. I can see, oh, okay, let's take a minute. So witnessing and accompanying is kind of what we're reaching for when we're talking about holding space. Now, fixing takes a tremendous amount of energy. And again, it's usually counterproductive to what the other person typically needs. Of course, there are some situations, especially in a work context or in a family context, where there is an issue and it needs to be fixed or solved. Those are very different than experiences where someone is in emotional discomfort and needs first attunement, accompaniment, witnessing. Most of us jump to fixing as our first default response when someone is in discomfort. And part of the reason for this, there are many different reasons, it's a very nuanced pattern, but one of the common reasons is that a lot of us carry a codependent way of being that we received in our childhood. So codependency says, if you're okay, I'm okay. And if you're not okay, I'm not okay. That's the basis of codependency. And what we do from that place is, instead of learning the skills to find our center and stay in balance and accompany ourselves even when others are in discomfort, this is a skill, right? We have to grow this skill. Instead of focusing on this skill, which is foreign to many of us, we focus on getting others to be okay as a way to feel okay ourselves. And again, when we do this, it creates tremendous pressure in our interactions. If I'm accompanying someone while I'm also trying to fix them, it's going to rush their process. It's not coming from a genuine place. It's coming from a place of fear and scarcity. I don't have what I need. You need to get out of this pain. I need you to do something different so I can be okay. I'm speaking about all of this from personal experience. Like, as I'm talking about this, I'm having this flash of this memory and flash of that memory because I do this behavior. This is something that I am actively working on in my life. And it's why I created the Overcoming Codependency program, because this kind of emotional codependency showed up so much in my life. So when we're in that place of noticing these codependent tendencies, this fixing behavior, there's going to be a period of time when we start to address this where we actually have to front load the feeling of our own discomfort of not being okay. And it's an unpleasant phase. Like, I just want to prepare everyone. It's usually something that, that's why I like to have people come into my program and navigate it together so we can really normalize the journey of just the heightened emotional discomfort of letting the people around us not be okay. But then there is also this kind of really precious freedom and beauty that emerges when we start to get our bearings in this really unpredictable territory of difficult emotions. And being with people in their difficult emotions is one of the most exquisite experiences in my life. I mean, that's why I love what I do as a coach. I get to sit with people in unfathomable challenge and just be there. And it's kind of a magical thing. It's actually really beautiful. And what I have to develop, what I've had to develop to be able to do that well, and I haven't always done it well, I'm still learning, is this ability to be with myself and have an energetic boundary that says, your experience is over there with you, and my experience is right here with me. And we have this tether of connection. So I'm going to be affected by what you share, but it's safe to not be okay. It's okay to not be okay. So I want to offer this mantra to you as just like something to try on in your life. What if both toward yourself and toward the people around you, when you noticed any of those more difficult, uncomfortable feelings coming up, if you just applied that gentle mantra, it's okay to not be okay, what would emerge in your connections? How would you be differently with someone? How would you be differently with yourself? I know for me, when I am really living into this mantra, it opens up all kinds of incredible opportunities in the conversations I have, in the places I go with people emotionally. And I want to encourage you to try that as an experiment. What happens when you take this mantra, this healing mantra for codependency and fixing, and you just allow the people in your life to not be okay? And there's something kind of counterintuitive that you might experience, which is when we're trying to make people okay, when we're trying to fix them, energetically, they resist us. They stay in their pain because we don't like to be forced to move out of feelings that are organic and natural and coming up for us. And when we actually allow people to not be okay, they find their center again. So see what happens in your connections. Try on that mantra. Try on this skill that all of us are actively trying to work with of not fixing, but just attuning, accompanying, allowing someone to have their experience, metabolizing your own discomfort. Wow, this is really scary. This is unknown. I feel really uncomfortable. Some part of me is afraid that if you don't stabilize, I won't be okay. But I'm here with myself, and I'm here with you, and I'm here with myself, right? That toggle back and forth. So I invite you into this experiment. I'm going to be in the same experiment. See how it feels for you. And remember to be really gentle with yourself, really forgiving of yourself when it's hard, because these are deeply ingrained patterns of fixing. And they come from a misguided notion of what it is to love each other. So let's be really gentle with ourselves. Let's forgive ourselves quickly when we fall back into that fixing behavior. And then explore again the experiment of allowing ourselves and others to not be okay.